Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, it's me, DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
It's me, DJ Ross.
Me. I don't know.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week we're playing Guardians of the Galaxy, Tunic, and Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage.
Yeah, love it. Love to hear it.
Guess who's playing what?
Yeah.
If you've listened to more than one episode, just try to guess which one of us is playing Tunic and which one's playing Hatsune Miku.
Who is playing Tunic? That's a good question.
Yeah, well, I think Tunic could go either way. Guardians of the Galaxy probably slightly more firmly in the Randy camp.
Yeah, you're the big Marvel fan on the show.
I am just huge Marvel fan.
Yeah. Every week, just have to put down, no, you can't talk about another Marvel game this week. Had enough.
Yep. You know, I do want to see that Moon Knight, though. I think that looks good.
See what I mean? Just all Marvel all the time.
All Marvel all the time.
Can't avoid it. Just unbelievable.
Yep.
It does look kind of good, though.
Yeah. I've read the comic, actually. That is one of the few where I actually have read the source.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Charlie Huston, who wrote much of the first run of the Moon Knight comics, is one of my favorite fiction writers. He's a novelist as well, and has a series of books called the Joe Pitt Case Files, where it's like a private eye gumshoe detective in a version of New York City that secretly harbors like vampires and werewolves and all kinds of other crazy horror elements. Mm-hmm. And I love those books. I love everything he's ever written. So I had read at one point, once I had read through everything he wrote that was a novel, I was like, what else is out there that Charlie Huston has written? And it was these comic books. And this was over 10 years ago at this point.
So I found the original Moon Knight series?
I believe so. I don't know what the original Moon Knight series is, but let's say kind of mid-2000s. There was a run of Moon Knight, or a resurrection of Moon Knight, that this author created.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure someone who knows more about Marvel things in our audience maybe will set the record straight for me, but yeah. So I've read his original run of Moon Knight books, so I know a bit about Moon Knight.
You know Moon Knight.
I know. We are familiars. Yeah.
Yeah, it does look good. In fact, I mean, a lot of those Marvel shows coming out admittedly sound very interesting to me, even though I am so burnt out on anything Marvel at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just just begrudgingly, this sounds like something I might want to watch. Oh, who am I? Who am I turning into? I just
yeah.
Could something come out? Could a cool TV show come out and not be Marvel or Star Wars? Are there just good original TV shows anymore? Don't answer that. I know that you're probably just about to rattle off 10 TV shows.
I have a list. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but it just feels like everything in my field of view is oh yeah, the new Marvel thing or the new Star Wars thing.
Yeah. And see, unlike you and many other people, I've not spent the last 20-something years consuming all things Marvel. So when something like Guardians of the Galaxy comes along, or Moon Knight, or what was the last thing? Legion, which was amazing. And I love Legion. That's probably one of my favorite TV shows from the last 5 years.
See what I have to deal with every week here?
Yep. Every week. It seems super exciting to me, but I guess maybe I'm only sort of selectively consuming it, and clearly from this list, consuming only just the weirdest of the Marvel things. Yeah.
I think maybe that's the way to go. I think maybe, or actually, I'm pretty sure a lot of my Marvel burnout comes from the fact that I've mostly, a lot of my Marvel intake has been through, the big MCU movies over the last 10 years or so. There's
Iron Man again, guys.
Yeah, I know. Just I mean, overall, it's such an interesting just phenomenon that they just made 10 years worth of these movies. But they're so, like, after a certain point, they just get so, like, I don't know, like, homogenized. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
another 2 hours or 2.5 hours, God forbid, of, the Avengers doing stuff and kind of making wisecracks and everything. Yeah, it just all got so cookie cutter after a certain point. It feels very disposable.
I could see that.
So really, I should have been going after the weird, like, fringe stuff, like the Moon Knight series with the special guest authors or whoever.
Right, there you go. Fringe, also another really good TV show.
Right. Not a Marvel property, but
no, not Marvel, but no, just a good show. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at entertainment wise right now.
All right, just getting excited for new Marvel stuff.
I don't have a Disney Plus though. That's a limitation. That's a big, like, one more streaming thing. It's just a lot to ask. I have so many already.
It is a lot. Yeah. I was about to cancel just to keep going on this tangent. I was about to cancel my HBO Plus, or it's not HBO Plus, whatever their streaming service is called.
HBO Max.
Yeah, I was almost canceled the wrong one. I was about to give it up so I could rotate over to whatever the next thing is. I think it's like Paramount because Star Trek is back on. Mm-hmm. And then I realized they have like every Studio Ghibli movie on there. And I was like, I haven't seen 90% of these. These are generally well regarded. Could I, like, first of all, is this a good idea? Could I handle this? Just mainline all these, like, very wholesome anime movies for a couple of weeks? That might be too much. Sure. That might not be a good idea.
I've seen some of those. I was never a huge Hatsune Miku Studio Ghibli fan. Right. So I have very limited points of reference on those, but
anyway, it's terrifying the stuff you discover. You think you've seen everything in whatever streaming services catalog, and then you just click into some folder that you've never seen before. You're like, oh, I didn't know all of this was in here.
I was watching, I've been watching Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max, also very good, and got to the series finale and was sort of like, that empty feeling you have inside when you finish a show. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what's next? What does my life even mean? What do I do with all this free time? And HBO Max was like, hey, are you still there? We have the X-Files movies if you'd like to watch those.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to watch the second one, but let's watch the first one. Now at 12 o'clock on a Friday night.
Yeah, I watched that a couple of weeks ago. Still great.
So I stayed up until 2 a.m. watching the first X-Files movie, the good X-Files movie.
Yeah, good use of time.
It's delightful. It's still delightful. I enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah. Where's that X-Files game? Where's that, guys?
Let's get on that.
Never happened.
Yeah. I have my long-running fantasy, I talked about repeatedly on this show, was that Telltale would someday make an X-Files game. But I think we both know how that story ended.
Yeah. I think it's the window has passed, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah.
Unless there is somebody's got a real good David Duchovny sound alike. It's got to be somebody out there.
Scully! I can do it.
At this point, that was eerie. It sounded just like him. At this point, maybe they can just have a computer do his voice through AI or something. Just make him say a whole bunch of offensive stuff that he would never would have said.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going into a deep sub-reference now. Follow me if you will. Okay. Do you remember the episode of Futurama where Bender wanted to be an actor?
No, I don't think I saw that one.
That he got an acting coach who worked with all the famous robot actors, and they listed a bunch of sort of robot actor names, and the last one on the list was David Duchovny. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty true. I like him though.
More true
I'm a
than
fan.
False.
Yes, yeah. So, man, how do we get back to video games from there? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what's been going on. I had a super busy week this last week. I feel like I barely played anything. I was just dabbling in stuff.
Been sampling.
You just can't block out enough time to just really get into anything.
Sure. Been there.
Well, so I played. Well, so I finished Even the Ocean. I talked about that last week, and it
Yeah.
was very good. Really enjoyed all the way through to the end. It never really rose out of that like perfect difficulty zone or wherever it was. I mean, the levels towards the end, they were a little more challenging than the ones at the start, but I just, it was so just completely agreeable the entire way through.
And was it all sort of in the vein of that? I think you had compared it to like Mega Man, just kind of like a platforming challenger kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, not as difficult as any of the Mega Man games, but you sort of jump around. The way you jump and the way the character like poses when she's in the air reminds me very much of Mega Man.
Cool.
Just on top of the fact that you're doing all this 2D platforming. But that was so good. I was hoping to play. Speaking of the X-Files, paranormal investigations, I just started playing Paradise Killer.
Oh.
And so, like, I haven't played it for very long. I am absolutely loving just, like, the aesthetic of everything. It's so weird. But
it is.
It
feels,
it's
a very weird game. Yeah.
It feels like it's incredibly dense. So I don't think that... I think that if I were to attempt to talk about it at this point, I would not be doing it justice because I've just barely scratched the surface of it. But
cool.
Early impressions, very promising.
Yeah, really good music in that too. Even if you don't have
so good,
the sort of brain waves to handle the actual game. Cue up the soundtrack at some point. It's quite good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost every moment I'm playing that, I'm just like, the soundtrack seems just effortlessly good. It's like unbelievable. But anyway, I'm hoping to put more time into that over the next week. I'm hoping also to not do my usual thing, which is attempt to play a game as I'm trying to go to bed, because I mean that's just not healthy. But also, if I feel like if I try and do that with this game, like it's a detective game, you have to gather evidence and draw conclusions. I'm just not going to remember anything. I'm going to end up convicting the wrong guy. So that's not good.
Yeah, then you have to live with the weight of your decisions.
Right. That's, it's not what I want out of a video game. Just regret.
No, certainly not. You'd need some good, like, before bed. Kirby, man. Kirby's there waiting for you.
Yeah, how's Kirby going?
Kirby's going well. You had asked me last week if I had played the mini game where you run a cafe.
Oh yeah, here we go.
I had not last week played that portion of it, but I finally got into it. And the way that this works is as you go into the overworld map, there are 10 to 12 Waddle Dees located throughout the map. Some of them are hidden in quite sort of devious places that you have to suss out.
Like on the overworld map itself?
No. Well, in the levels.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then you for every 50 Waddle Dees you rescue from the main levels, it unlocks some new feature or some new development back in Waddle Dee Town, which had previously been sort of decimated by alien fox-like critters. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of fun to check in back at the little hometown, your little home base, and see the Waddle Dees kind of rebuilding civilization. And one of the things that they rebuild is a little cafe. And there's a little Waddle Dee in an apron standing outside who offers you part-time work if you are game, Kirby. And it pays pretty well. You get little in-game currency, little star tokens and stuff like that. But the hook here is that you are behind the counter of the little cafe as Waddle Dees line up from around the village and place their order, and you've got to serve them fast enough to keep them happy. So your view is of Kirby's back behind the counter, looking out the little window of, imagine, a food truck with just a sea of Waddle Dees pushing and shoving their way to the window so they can place their order. And at the lowest levels, the lowest challenge, you have 2 items on the menu. A little cake and like a little power drink. It looks like a bottle of like a Red Bull or something like that.
At the highest... classic Kirby drink.
Is that a Kirby drink? Is that a thing?
I think so. Yeah, it was like he had the little bottle and he had the tomato.
Yes, the tomato's still very much in this. Yeah, in the later levels, there's 4 items on the menu. One of them's a tomato. One of them is a cake shaped like Kirby stretched over a bug car. Yeah, for real. Yeah.
That's good.
So
That's
I think
good.
most people at this point have seen the Kirby mouthful mode of him stretched over a rusty vehicle.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the game, one of the items on the cafe menu is a cake shaped like that.
Okay. Wow. So they really they knew that was going to be a thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
Nintendo's making memes, y'all. Yeah.
Okay. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So the Waddle Dees, one at a time, come up to the window and have a little speech bubble above their head that reveals, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, sometimes they sort of change the perspective on it, the item on the menu that they like to order from you. And you have to push left and right on the D-pad to quickly select the right thing and serve it to them. And the next Waddle Dee files in, the next Waddle Dee files in. And in the higher levels, with 4 items on the menu and all of these Waddle Dees and a very unforgiving clock, it gets quite challenging and quite hectic. And I found myself frequently selecting the wrong item. You have to keep patient or customer satisfaction high. You have to keep order accuracy high, or you fail out. And then every now and then, for shits and giggles, the game goes, "Hey, Kirby, it's lunch break." And like all of the doors around the village open up and like hundreds of more Waddle Dees file out. And the music picks up its pace and they all start placing orders rapid fire. And I get angry and throw the Switch across the room.
Oh, man. Well, this sounds very different from the, I was imagining the cafe in Animal Crossing. It's very, very low
it's not
pressure.
That.
Yeah, this is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah. Okay. It's pretty intense. It's super fun in the low levels, and it feels like a fine accomplishment when you've only got 2 items on the menu, and most of the Waddle Dees are pretty happy. But man, those higher levels are intense, and the rewards are good. You get some pretty good power ups and fun stuff like that. But it's a lot. It's a big ask.
Interesting. So this is where they've hidden all the difficulty in this Kirby game.
There's a few little places, a few little challenges I've encountered in the Kirby game where I'm like, oh, this is surprisingly difficult for what has otherwise been just a breeze of a video game experience. So yeah, it has some little difficulty and challenge spikes.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the Dark Souls of Kirby games by any stretch, but
yeah, I was just picturing, it feels like anything you do in a Kirby town must be just incredibly low stress. And I don't know, Kirby just seems like such an easygoing character. The fact that you would have him facing down an army of Waddle Dees in this cafe seems like, I don't know, definitely not what I expected from this cafe minigame.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, well,
it's fun though. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it certainly does not move at the pace of the cafe and Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah. I feel like Brewster, on a good day, he serves like 2 cups of coffee.
Right.
And then he's just done for the day.
Yeah. I mean, really, only 11 people live on the island. So on a busy day, he has 11 customers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Brewster not really moving at much of a pace. So, yeah, Kirby definitely is a retail warrior.
Nice.
Or a food service warrior.
Just continue to be impressed by his unforeseen skills.
Yeah. One of the other games I sort of dipped into a bit this week is Tunic.
Surprise, it's you.
It's me, yeah. This came out in mid-March, and I had heard about it. I played it at PAX East 2020. They had a demo for it. Excuse me. And it was on my radar. It was something that looked super cool. It looked like my kind of game. It's a Zelda-like, there's a lot of Zelda games, so it's not like one of those things where I'm sort of like, oh, please make more games like Zelda.
Are there a lot of Zelda games? You mean like just
I feel like
mainline Zelda games?
I think so, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of games that sort of, there's Zelda games and there's a lot of games that do a Zelda type thing.
Okay, so you're just including any game that's similar to Zelda as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think of like...
I think that's fair. It's true.
the rise of Metroidvanias over the last couple of years. Like, it felt exciting and special because studios had more or less stopped making those kinds of games, right? Like,
Sure.
these were indie developers, to me anyways, this is my perspective on it. We're like keeping this type of game alive when Nintendo clearly had no interest in making Metroids. So that was my take on it. But like, I'm not hurting for games that feel like Zelda at this point. So when one comes along, it's sort of like, oh, what do you do that's cool or special or different? And Tunic was beautiful. It looked just like painstakingly assembled, just, you know, sort of beautifully designed. You have a cute little fox character wearing a green tunic, who goes on an adventure. And you wake up on a beach, you make your way into the interior of the map, and it's all this little voxel art and this sort of asymmetrical view. And, you know, the enemies are very creatively designed and come at you pretty aggressively until you can find, you're empty-handed at the beginning. You find a sword eventually. Well, you find a stick first, which is not good for a lot. And then eventually you find a sword, and you find other little bits and pieces of armament and weapons and things like that. And you find specific areas of the map that are inaccessible until you can find this sort of the particular tool that allows you to progress beyond that point. So again, it sort of pushed all of the right Zelda buttons, but it, I don't know, it had a look, it had something sort of about its vibe that I kind of found appealing.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it just looks like a very brightly colored, very welcoming kind of Zelda clone. Yeah. Not to use clone like disparagingly, but it looks like a Zelda game.
Yeah. To take that to a whole kind of other level, the characters in the world are speechless. They don't talk at all. And when they do, it is some sort of video game made up gibberish language.
Yeah, I saw some of this. This seems very interesting.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really neat about this is throughout the levels, you will find single kind of torn out pages of what appears to be kind of a 1980s Legend of Zelda video game instruction manual. And most of the language in the torn out pages is in this video game gibberish that I'm sure an army of video game people are around the world trying to crack right now and translate for us. But it's super dense, and it's really like makes my head spin just looking at it. But sometimes you can look at it and you find little bits of English kind of interspersed, or you find little images that are sort of numbered in a useful way, or show a progression of events that lead you to believe, well, hey, if I found the shield, I can do X. If I find the sword, it can get me through this door. Just me trying to sort of suss out some of the little context clues, not speaking the language, but just being able to kind of like, what can I divine from this shoddy bit of information? And there's little cartoons drawing in the margins, and little things are highlighted, or underlined. And it's clearly sort of like, you know, if you've lived long enough to have rented a video game at some point in your life, and you get the instruction manual that other players or other gamers have had their hands on.
Oh, sure.
I guess if you buy used video games at some point in your life, maybe you've encountered this. You get sort of the marked up instruction manual of the person who played it previously.
One of my friends back then, when I was at his house and we were playing whatever, and he revealed to me that whenever he rented a game, he would keep the manual. And I was like, oh my God, it's you. You're the reason why whenever I rent a game, there's no manual.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow.
You monster.
Just learned a dark secret.
I remember as a kid renting video games and being super frustrated if there wasn't a manual. But I also remember my little video store, Video Galaxy in Enfield, Connecticut, growing up, would charge you an extra like $10 or something like that if you brought the game back without the manual.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's what I guess Blockbuster should have been doing that. That's a good policy.
And at that point, that was my mom's money. That was certainly not my money. So she was hardcore about the manual. You had to make sure it was back in the box, because she was not going to pay $10 to cover for me. It's just an interesting little kind of added value thing kind of hidden throughout the game that gives you a lot of little fun, tips and tricks that you can sort of suss out from looking at these instruction manual pages. And as you put them together, more parts of it sort of fill in and come together and stuff like that. So you open up the little side menu and you can click through the pages that you've found thus far, and it starts to seem like it's telling you like a linear progression of like how to do stuff and where to go and how to find the next thing you're supposed to do, all without sort of giving you, overt, like go to the village and talk to the chief and find the knife that opens the door, whatever. Yeah. So it's really cool. And again, sort of feels kind of labored over and deeply thought about in the same way that Fez did to me. I get serious Fez vibes from this game. And that was a game that had a lot of cool secrets and had its own very specific language and tone to it that, again, single developer just belabored and loved to a molecular level before being released upon the world. And yeah, sort of gamers trying to sort of divine its secrets.
Do you get the sense that like this is a language that they will eventually have deciphered? Is it that simple? Is it just like a letter replacement thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's been out since March 17th at this point. You would think maybe
I would have thought that played it. People would have made quick work of that if that was just a simple, like, I don't know.
They did with Fez. I think Fez got, many of its secrets kind of sussed out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. That was a huge game. Huge for the type of game that it is, I think, and a bit of a cultural experience at the time. I don't know if Tunic has that many players, although it's getting a lot of sort of, a lot of praise and seems to be sort of talked about pretty enthusiastically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that is meant to be so obtuse that it can't be, if it's nonsense or if it, like a literal translation is possible.
Yeah, I just like the idea, like when I saw a few examples of it in screenshots, that you could have like all the signage and like potentially instructions in the game that you just can't read. And maybe sometimes there's like helpful information you can glean out of it through context or whatever, or maybe it's just like you'll never be able to read it, but it's trying to tell you something and you just need to like infer whatever, like what would a sign here, like why would somebody put a sign here? What could they have possibly been trying to get across? I think that's like a really interesting idea. So I kind of hope that it just stays like obfuscated like that.
Yeah. I like sort of the secrecy and the mystery of it. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Or like, are there like item descriptions or anything? Like how pervasive is this? Like if you go into your inventory, does it actually have descriptions of things, or do you even have an inventory?
Not really. No. I mean, anybody with a gamer brain, you can sort of tell what a sword is, but you get these little potions sometimes. Then you're like, what does this do? I don't know. And the description of what the potion does is in some strange alien language.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. I think.
So I have one of these. Do I risk using it to find out what it does? Or do I try to save it for when I'm in the heat of battle and then use it and hopefully it's something advantageous?
So that's super cool. That's like those old, like the super old, like roguelikes, or maybe even like Rogue at this point, where you just pick up some weird, like, oh, what's a green potion do? Nobody is here to tell me. So the only way I can find out is by drinking it.
Oh no, it sets me on fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
betrayed by the green potion.
So yeah, I love all of that about Tunic. I think that part has been super fun to just kind of marinate in and soak up. And I get super excited anytime I find one of the instruction manual pages, or I get some cool new tool that allows me to progress a little bit further. The thing that I am kind of bouncing and beating my head against a wall with is the difficulty, because it is just intensely, punishingly difficult.
How's a game about a cute little fox super difficult?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That is not something. It's not a conclusion I would have reached from like looking at the screens and trailers.
And I don't know if it's sort of difficult in a way that's sort of meant to ape, this type of game back in the day. Everybody sort of says old video games used to be much more difficult, and I think a lot of that difficulty came from the obscurity, from not knowing, what does the green potion do. But yeah, the difficulty in Tunic is that, compounded with the fact that just every enemy you encounter wants to rip your head off.
Oh.
And they are very, very aggressive and will pursue you fervently. Yeah, so that I find less fun. Yeah. So, it's satisfying to be able to take down some of the little scrubs and stuff like that. And then, with half a heart beating, you limp your way to the little save point. You save at the little shrine.
Yeah.
And anytime you save, of course, it repopulates the world with every enemy you killed before. So it disincentivizes you to want to save. But then you lose progress if you don't. So yeah, it is a push-pull, and it's super frustrating.
Like they'll stay gone if you don't save?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
If you kill them, they stay killed until you save the game, and then they all come back.
Interesting. Okay. I thought like maybe it's just a matter of like, the old Zelda games. As soon as you walk off the screen and walk back on, the enemies are there again.
Yeah.
But
that's not been my experience with it. Yeah, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's the act of saving that resurrects all your bad guys.
Have you played the original Zelda?
Not since I was a very small human being. It's been a long time. Yeah.
I'm just curious how this stacks up because, I don't consider the original Zelda to be that difficult. I mean, it's probably the most difficult Zelda game, just by the fact that the newer ones tend to become easier and easier. But it's not super difficult. I don't think. It sounds like this is probably higher on the scale.
Yeah. Yeah, I have I have one of the little handheld. What's the little Nintendo handheld? The little Play and Go?
Oh yeah, the Game and Watch.
Game & Watch, that's what it's called. The little one they released last year that has the original Zelda on it. And I was like, I should play that. But so far I have not done that. And one of these days, that might be a fun backlog attack as I'll dip into the original Zelda.
Ooh, all Zelda backlog.
All Zelda backlog. There are enough Zelda games that I've missed that's conceivable. Those are very long games.
You could probably do that for an entire year. Just the year of Zelda on Video
The
Game
year of
Hangover.
Zelda. Yeah, it's more than Nintendo could do. We'll do it here on Video Game Hangover. Yeah, I don't know that I want to keep throwing myself at Tunic. I love it. It's beautiful. It's so fun to explore, but it just is so punishing. Every step I take is with great fear in my heart, and I think it's sucking some of the enjoyment out of this experience. So I might be done until maybe in a hopeful future where they patch it and put in an easy mode or something.
I don't know if that makes me more or less interested in playing it. I'm really curious what a super difficult Zelda game was like. Remember the Blossom King? Blossom Kingdom? Getting the name completely wrong. I'm terrified.
Blossom Tales.
Blossom Tales. Yes, thank you. From the developers of the Rex Rocket game, which I thought was just nail-bitingly difficult.
It was indeed, yes.
Yeah, and I thought, oh man, what happens when these guys make a Zelda game? But then it was not. The difficulty was tuned quite down, I felt like.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious about this. Is this more difficult than that Death's Door game?
I think it's on par with that. I was
really?
able to make more progress confidently with Death's Door, but it was a lot of the same frustrations I feel with Tunic.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think those are two very good examples of games I really just love the world and love the characters and would love to just spend as much time sort of sniffing out the secrets as possible. But I keep getting my butt handed to me, and I don't have the patience or the time to consume a game like that right now. So, yeah.
Did you make it through all of Death's Door?
I did not, unfortunately, no.
Okay.
That was one of my sort of caveats for including it in my kind of Game of the Year list for last year. It's I really love this, but did not see the end, and I don't know that I ever will. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but in an era where so many games have kind of accessibility features, there's nothing built into games like Tunic or Death's Door to be consumable by somebody with my shitty motor skills and lack of patience.
Interesting. That Death's Door has been on my list because that came out on PlayStation recently. I still I definitely want to check that out. I'm not sure how I feel about Tunic, but just hearing all these like I definitely did not expect the this level of difficulty for this game. It just looks like a little cartoon fox. I know so many people who are looking forward to this, who I would not have pegged for like, oh yeah, they're really into just the most punishing combat possible. So I wonder if that is a surprise to a lot of people.
It was to me. I mean, like I said, I played the demo. I've played a version of Tunic before at PAX East, and it did not leave me with the impression that it was going to bring the thunder. But the demo, I remember ending with like a crypt door opening and this giant, like 3-story tall monster crawling out and just raising a fist and smashing me into dust. And then it cuts to, Tunic coming eventually. Mm-hmm. So it was meant to be this sort of like fun little tease. And I was like, oh no, was that supposed to be a sign? Was I supposed to infer from that this game was going to crush me every time it could? Yeah.
Did you just like forget to pick up a sword or something? You said you picked up a sword, but I wonder if you were like, this game's so hard and all you have is a stick.
No, I got the sword. I got a couple other little fun little trinkets, a couple potions and stuff like that. I found a little, this game's version of a heart container that it increases my health a little bit. So yeah, I'm sort of like, I'm finding enough of the things, I think. And I even went to am I playing, because it's a fairly openish kind of thing. It's gated by ability. And tools. And am I trying to go too far too fast? Which, I do. Because I'm impatient and I want to rush ahead. Yeah. So I found this walkthrough, how to do a perfect kind of, playthrough, what's the right order for consuming Tunic. And I'm like, no, I've done all this stuff. I'm playing it the way that this person is too. Not my flavor, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it is in every other way. It's just that one element of just constantly getting the snot kicked out of me that I find very frustrating.
Can you just fire up that feature? Does the Xbox have the thing where you like call for help and somebody takes over your game and they just play it for you? That was like a PS.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I've not had an opportunity to. Well, I mean, this would be the opportunity to use it, but I've not had a thought to look for that. The thing that I can say is, people listening to this, if this sounds intriguing to you at all, you're not sure if you want to, pay good hard-earned money for a game that's going to beat you up. This is on Game Pass. So if you're paying for a Game Pass subscription and you've got a little bit of hard drive space, maybe download Tunic and check it out. Yeah, those early levels, at the very least, you get a good feel for it. It seems, fairly accessible. The monsters are slow enough that you can kind of run away until you get the sword and you feel a little more compelled to kind of fight them on their own ground.
If you go left and get the sword, if you go right, you find a gun. And it's like, that's all I need.
I either need an easy mode or I need a rocket launcher. I just need, something to equalize the intensity of the combat here.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah. So that is that's Tunic. I think right now it is only on Xbox and PC. I don't believe it is on other consoles yet.
Yeah, is it planned to come out at some point?
Nothing announced. I'm sure inevitably Microsoft has paid for some window of exclusivity here, but
sure.
It feels. I mean, if you're making Zelda likes, you probably want your game on a Nintendo device at some point. So it feels like it's destined to head in that direction inevitably.
Yeah.
I know nothing. That's just me as a consumer, obviously.
Speculation, but I think that I could see it on Switch or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned I was dabbling in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you did, and then I completely cut off your story. I apologize.
Oh, no, we sort of got into it. I've just been playing a whole bunch of things for not very long. Although, what I have been playing for a while at this point is the new Hatsune Miku game, which is Colorful Stage on mobile. This took me by surprise. I think I was just scrolling Twitter or something, and they showed me an ad for it. And I was like, what? They made a new Hatsune Miku game, and nobody told me. And it's on my phone. And I was kind of shocked because, I like these games play them mostly on PSP or like Vita, but I never considered that might be one on my phone, which is very nice. It's nice to play a rhythm game on there. I feel like it's just a great thing for the format, or a great fit for the format. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. I'll click your ad, whatever. And it is just another Miku rhythm game. But they switched it up a little bit. So most notably, it's a gacha this time, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised about because, it seems like inevitably your series goes on long enough, it just has a gacha version that comes out.
Yeah. Our video game future is all games are basically gacha games where you've got to pull a little arm to spin the wheels and get a random drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually there's a slot machine and you got to do it. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll try any gacha game for like a week or two just to see how it works or whatever. On the plus side, one of the reasons or one of the things that keeps me away from all the other gacha games out there, and it really comes down to what the actual gameplay is. So with like Dragalia Lost, it was a little action RPG, which was pretty fun. With World Flipper, it was pinball. That was also like fun to play. And this one's a rhythm game, which is great. And I'm just like, okay, I'll just play a rhythm game. That's fine. Where does the gacha element come in? Why do I need, what am I even summoning in this? Am I summoning, I've already got Hatsune Miku on my team, so what else do I need? I don't know. So I just start playing this game, and it is, so first of all, it's different from all the, the Project Diva games that were, the previous console Hatsune Miku rhythm games, in that in those games, you would have these icons floating onto the screen over little button prompts, and as much as I like those games, I never really, I never truly enjoyed this specific format for a rhythm game because it felt very chaotic. Like buttons could just fly in from any direction.
Oh.
And at times it was very difficult to follow. But with this one, they've just turned it into sort of the Rock Band style notes coming down the track at you, and you just tap at the bottom of the screen when they get there. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Immediately enjoying this much better than those other games that I spent hundreds of hours playing. So that's good. It's got like a weird story component to it where I have not been following this super closely, so I apologize if you're expecting this incredibly detailed report on what the story is in this game, but it sort of has
I kind of was, DJ. I'm a little disappointed.
You were? Okay, well, I'll fill you in afterward.
Okay.
We'll do an extra 90 minutes on the
Wait, that's
the
not how
story of this game.
podcasts work, man.
So,
I know this isn't your first day.
Yeah. Loosely, it follows these five or six groups of these 5 or 6 bands basically, and they sort of track. You follow their progress and writing songs and doing performances and everything. And this is where it starts to lose me a little bit because it feels like, whereas the previous games were just sort of they put whatever popular songs on there, and you just play them. And Hatsune Miku was there and it was fine. This one, it feels like it's much more trying to focus around these pop idol groups, these groups of 4 or 5 singers, which I don't know if I'm huge into.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very Japanese. It's the enormous pop groups, and they do their cute little dances on stage and they wave their hands around. I don't know about this, but the music game is pretty fun, so I'll stick it out at least a little bit.
Right. Which is much like the way that I consume the Persona rhythm game. It's sort of I'm not at all invested in being a teen idol, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
That ship has sailed, so get me to the part where I just push buttons that light up with the corresponding icons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want. I just want to push the buttons. I want to listen to the song, and I want to have some degree of participation in it or whatever. Just want to match notes as they come down the track.
Right.
But this is where the gotcha comes in that every time you do a summon in this game, you're summoning, I guess, a variant of one of these band members. And this is the same problem I had with Dragalia Lost starting out, because I would do all these summons and it would summon like 10 of these characters who I'd never heard of. And I was like, am I supposed to be excited that I've summoned so-and-so who I can't even remember their name because they're all in Japanese? I just don't know what to do with all these characters. So I have not really been like making a huge... I haven't been getting a lot of use out of the summoning system.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine.
And is there some advantage to having those alternates on your team, or is it consumable without having them?
I'll get to that in a second. But
okay, sorry.
So it's fine not doing the summoning stuff because I can still just play the music game and it's fun. And
good.
Like, as far as I can tell, you don't really need the summons to help you. Like, you can clear songs fine without having like a super team or anything. Although, so the more I play this, though, I started to notice something weird, which was like, every time I did a song, like, I don't expect to be just a master of this game out of the gate because, you have to sort of learn how the gameplay works. You have to familiarize yourself with the songs so you can play along accurately. So it was a little rough starting out. But eventually I got to the point where, I'm doing all right. They've got some of my favorite, like, returning songs in here. So I'll, gravitate towards those. I feel like I do pretty well on them. But I noticed I'm playing these things, and at the end it gives you like the little like score ranking up to, it's like C, B, A, whatever the highest one is. And up to this point, I have never scored higher than a C ranking on any song. I'm just like, okay, what's going on with this? I'm not doing terribly at this game. In fact, like some of these songs I'm doing pretty well at, if I say so myself. And I think what's going on is you need to recruit the appropriately aligned like band members to your team and then level them up and then use these skills to get score boosts that will let you rank higher up on the meter.
Oh.
Because I noticed some of them will say, when this ability activates, you will get, 150% of the points for that note. And I go, oh, okay, so this is, it wasn't enough for me to like full combo this song and get 100% of the notes. I need to get 150% in order to move my score up on this meter. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
You need to deploy your star power at exactly the right time.
Yes, pretty much.
Yep.
But then there are all these other weird things, like in all the other gacha games, like each character has, like typically they have their own elemental alignment or whatever. That's like fire, water, wind, whatever. And they have the similar thing in this, except instead of those elements, it just looks like, I don't know, it looks like they all have a Lucky Charm marshmallow next to them. Like some people have hearts, some people have little moon. I'm like, I don't know what any of this means.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
I just know. So, you have to select these characters who, I guess, align better with whatever song you're going to play. I'm just like, this is a lot. It was bad enough when I had to maintain 5 or 6 different teams in Dragalia Lost. I can't imagine having to like swap between different team configurations in this just because I want to play one song versus another one.
Yeah.
But like I said before, all of that it's totally fine because you can just ignore all that and I will just be content with scoring C's on every single song I play in this, apparently.
There's no shame in being a C student, DJ.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm still having a good time.
Yeah.
But that's just silly. I mean, it feels like, the more I play this, the more I will just accumulate better characters and rank them up. So maybe I have there's a hope I could manage a B at some point in this game. But it's just this weird thing. It feels so unnecessary unless you are really score chasing in this that I feel like I can just ignore it and just be kind of aware that there's this weird other element to this game that could be trying to max out if I felt like it, but totally fine to just play this as a rhythm game.
And is there some like leaderboard component to this that would make you sort of desirous of a high score, or is it completely irrelevant?
I think you just get better rewards, and then all that just goes directly back into your team. So you can. I assume you can augment them in different ways to make them even more powerful and get you even higher scores.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm not really worrying about that. The one thing I am curious about is that I would really like to be playing these songs on like a higher difficulty because there's just more notes to deal with. I think it's just more entertaining in a rhythm game. But again, I think part of it is just I'm still learning a lot of these songs, but the higher difficulties in this are so difficult, I can often not get through most of them without like hitting too many wrong notes, and it just fails you out of the song at a certain point.
Oh, wow.
So I would really like to put together a team which just has like unlimited health or whatever the equivalent is in this that will get me a little farther in those songs so I can practice them. But I haven't really looked into it quite yet. I'm still content playing on whatever difficulty I'm currently using.
So we're both sort of fighting with our own needlessly difficult games this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's only needlessly difficult because I'm choosing to play it on a difficulty I'm not prepared for yet. But I think like the standard difficulty or whatever I'm playing it on, I think it's like hard is fine if you play a lot of rhythm games. It's pretty good. Maybe someday, I'll have the ideal team and I can play on the master difficulty or whatever it is. But it's like a pretty good rhythm game still, even if you don't get fully into the gacha elements, it seems like.
Right.
And it seems like you unlock new songs at a pretty regular pace. Whenever there's an event, they tend to add new songs to it, which is also nice. So far so good. Seems like it's just a new rhythm game for me to check in on every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I've very little experience with will come as no surprise with Hatsune Miku games, but my association is that they are rhythm games, but that's as far as I got.
Yeah, they haven't made a kart racer yet, as far as I know. Although maybe she was in that Sonic one because that's a Sega game.
Is it a Sega thing? Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, Hatsune Miku, colorful stage. Pretty good if you're into rhythm games and you have some history with, I guess, Hatsune Miku's catalog. Cool.
One of the other games that I've dipped into over the last couple of weeks that I'm having a really good time with is the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Here's the Marvel content.
Here's the Marvel content you've all been clamoring for. This is developed by one of the Square Enix teams that did. I think they were doing all of those Deus Ex games for a while. This is the thing they're doing.
This is one of the Eidos teams, right, or formerly Eidos.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, this is what they did instead of a new Deus Ex.
Okay, interesting setup here.
Much to my dismay. I have a very little investment in the Guardians of the Galaxy. I've seen the movies. I've enjoyed the movies. I like James Gunn as a director. I like Chris Pratt as an actor in general. But I really knew nothing about this series going into seeing the first movie. They're fun. They're a lark. They're a caper. I like that about a movie generally. Sure. I've not really had a lot of sort of like thoughts about like, these characters or this world or how does it fit into the overall Marvel thing. When they teased a Guardians of the Galaxy video game, I was like, oh, well, cool. More of that stuff. I guess that's fun for people who are invested in that thing. Yeah. And kind of slept on it. But then it got really, really good reviews, like consistently good reviews, and kept coming up on people's best of the year lists. And for what this is worth, it won a award at the Video Game Awards for best writing in a video game. And I went, really? That's surprising. Would not have expected that. And then like even on our own Discord,
award. Like there weren't multiple writing awards, were there?
I guess no. I guess it won the writing award for video games. Yeah. And then in our Discord, Paul, who we all know and love, a former co-host of the show, spoke very highly of it, recommended quite enthusiastically. And I went, I'm going to have to play this at some point. Not because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy, but because, if it's a good game, I want to play it, right? Particularly if it's a good game that, like, for some reason, because of marketing or branding or its connection to other video games or other worlds, like, just was not on my radar. But no, this is a thing that sort of transcends that. You got to check it out. I'll check it out. So when it landed on, here we go again, Xbox Game Pass a couple of weeks ago, I was like, here's my chance. And man, I love this game. I really am having just the best time playing it.
Huh.
Yeah. It is, when it's just big, stupid fun. It is you as Star-Lord, who bears no resemblance to Chris Pratt in this version of it, running around with the Guardians of the Galaxy, a ragtag band of miscreants and cast-offs from around the galaxy, basically trying to save the world. Repeatedly, over and over again, over the course of a 20-hour video game. It's crazy how often the world is on the brink of ending. So it's a lot of, you exploring, you getting into great big fights with very strange and weird monsters in strange and weird locations across the galaxy on planets that are super eccentric and bizarro. And, there's one that's all sort of like giant mushrooms that you can kind of climb on top of and little platforming challenges with you and your team. You have to use different people's different abilities to be able to kind of open doors and progress and climb up walls and things like that. And then every now and then you get into these big knockdown, drag out fights with very strange aliens. It turns into sort of a team squad based action game at that point. And everybody has different abilities and powers that you can kind of issue commands to get them to sort of, deploy one of their super moves, to fight together, to, do little co-op takedowns and things like that. And they are super satisfying and very fun. And really well animated, and it seems like a lot of fun to pull off some of these things.
Is it like
you get
the whole team is with you at all times, like all 5 or 6 or however many of them there are?
Yes, there's okay, let me see if I can do this. There's
here we go.
Star-Lord.
Yeah.
There's Gamora.
Yep.
There's Drax. There's the tree guy.
Oh,
Groot.
Come on. Okay, got it.
I am Groot. And Rocket.
It's just like the tree guy. So for some reason, I just can't remember his name. Has he ever said his name? Surely somebody must have mentioned it at some point.
It seems like an oversight. They should have really put that in there.
Yeah.
And Rocket. So there's 5 of you. Sometimes you get an additional person. There's one level that I like a lot where you have another person who joins the party. A character, I don't know if this is a secret. I hope this is not a secret. Block your ears if you're concerned about this. A character named Mantis.
Okay.
Who I believe is in the first 2 movies, and has a pretty significant sort of role in the video game, and is just a delight, and is so much fun to be around, and says really funny and thought-provoking things a lot, and has a sort of nice kind of emotional pivot in this that I really sort of appreciate the payoff for. But she's great. In fact, all of the voice actors for this, and I think it's interesting that they didn't go with, Chris Pratt and, who's the other guy? Bradley Cooper as Rex Rocket. Rocket T, Raccoon, and all of these other sort of like big name actors and stuff like that for these people. They went with kind of the best voice actors they could find, and they own these roles, man. They are so good at it, and the game is so heavy on dialogue. There is a lot of conversation in this game. Them, during the battles, them calling out targets and them sort of like, put me in, Peter, and things like that. But even beyond that, there's just dialogue upon dialogue, just constant sort of interaction and bickering and people not quite getting along and you getting little dialogue choices of how to sort of bring the team together. And one of the fun things that I kind of like about Star-Lord is just he's sort of like endlessly positive, just sees the bright side of so many things. He's a bit of a D-bag. He's a bit of a cretin. He's not the smartest guy in the world. He's not, but he sees the bright side of so many things. And I think he's just a good unifier and a good leader in that way. I aspire to be that kind of leader at work. I think that's kind of fun and nice.
Just like an idiot.
Yeah. Just,
but an
happy idiot.
One.
A positive, optimistic dummy. You just surround yourself with a good team, right? You find good people who sort of fill in the blanks in your own sort of weaknesses. I think Star-Lord has been very lucky to find the Guardians of the Galaxy to be able to save his ass over and over again. So, yeah, it just feels epic. It feels very big. You're flying around the galaxy in a spaceship, and sometimes you put it on autopilot, and you can get up and you can walk around and talk to all of your cohorts. You can explore the ship. You can find little artifacts from different movies and video games in the Marvel universe and explore and talk to other people about them. That's probably super satisfying. People who know their way around some of these things. I had to Google a few of them because I don't know what they mean. Gamora's dad is Thanos. I only sort of kind of know who that is. So I had to Google what the whole baggage there was. And apparently Thanos, not a good guy.
No, he's pretty bad.
Yeah. So, yeah. So there's a lot of that Marvel payoff in this thing. But if you're like me and you don't have all of this Marvel stuff packed in your brain, there's still very much a crazy fun, super entertaining caper of a video game to play here.
Ah. Well, I'm impressed.
Yeah, me too. I just can't speak enthusiastically enough about this video game. I've had such a good time playing it.
It sounds like a Marvel themed Mass Effect almost, which I know just like your two favorite things. So it follows that you would be super into this.
I can see the Mass Effect comparisons. Actually, I've played enough of those games to sort of like, oh yeah, that's definitely what it sort of like harkens back to. There's definitely a little bit of that. Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't like my only exposure to this is they showed off a very lengthy preview of it it was either the Game Awards or at some Square Enix event, and it was like it wasn't even like what I considered to be the exciting part of the game. It was just the squad walking around. I believe it was on that mushroom planet you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
and they're just walking to the next thing, and the whole time they're spouting off all this dialogue. Which to me seemed like just the most like B-level video game throwaway banter that you would get like as your squad moves from one place to the next in like a Call of Duty game. It was just like, oh, the entire game is just this constantly. I don't know if I can deal with this. And then you say it won the award for best writing. So, okay, so I don't know how to reconcile those two things. Maybe they just really cleaned up the writing since that initial preview or something.
Yeah. I mean, listen, your mileage may vary, obviously, on these kinds of things. But, yeah, the thing that I'm stumbling a little bit, that Sarah, my girlfriend, has found sort of annoying about it is that sometimes particularly in like firefights and battles, like them saying, kind of put me in, Peter, like I'm ready to go. Like that
they
stuff
just run out of stuff to say.
They run out of things to say, so it gets super repetitive. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, how could you keep playing this? And I'm like, because all the stuff in between these stupid battles is really fun and entertaining. Like you get a lot of character and a lot of sort of like, emotional investment, and everybody has little secrets that you kind of suss out. And maybe they're not secrets if you know all this Marvel stuff, but they're secrets to me because I don't know any of these characters. So yeah, I've just had a fun time kind of, exploring these people in these worlds, and everything in it feels like the Cantina planet in a Star Wars movie. Like you just land and it's insanity. It's just like the least hinged, the least logical, the least scientific of science fiction. It's just crazy sci-fi nonsense. And I love it. They own it. They embrace it. Like you do go to one planet that is sort of like it's the hollowed out skull of a space titan. And they've built like a nightclub and a place where you can sort of like, gas up your ship and things like that there. So you're inside a hollowed out skull. But it's a nightclub and there's a bar and somebody recognizes you from the life before and you have an air guitar contest with them. And it's just, again, the least expected things that I think would happen in a video game seem to happen a lot in Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's just, I don't know. I find it endearingly eccentric.
Huh. I love when they're able to do stuff like that when the setting will allow it. When they're just like, yeah, why wouldn't this be an enormous skull? Like we're a video game, we're a comic book, we can do whatever we want. Yeah, and there's no element of sort of Guardians of the Galaxy that feels rooted in any kind of reality. You get sort of the flashbacks to Peter as a kid, like home on Earth, and sort of what got him to the point where he's Star-Lord in the inevitable future.
it's interesting to sort of see that sort of blue sky, like, I don't know, wherever he grew up, somewhere in the Midwest, clearly, because there's like cornfields and stuff. And sort of juxtapose that with this crazy life that he has 25 years later, zipping around the galaxy and just like constantly not being somehow in terror of all of the weird aliens and monsters that he encounters on a daily basis. Yeah, I don't know. It's super fun. It's I've had a really, really good time with it. I think a hair away. I'm like on the last chapter. I'm dying to see the end. It's been quite a slog to get here in a positive way, in a happy way. It's not a short game by any stretch, but I've consumed it with great enthusiasm.
It sounds like you're enjoying the stuff between all the action sequences more than the action sequences. Would you say that's true? Like just hanging out with the characters? Because I think that's
yeah, I do. I like all of that stuff, and for me, that is definitely the highlight of this experience. But the combat is fun too. I enjoy those. One of the
okay, yeah, I'm not implying that the combat is bad, but I just think it's interesting that I feel like that's not the draw of the game, just the in between sections where you're going from planet to planet.
I would say that it certainly is for me. Yeah. And again, I'm cognizant of other people wanting different things from their video games, and some people might go, geez, I wish it was just the fighting stuff. And I like the fighting stuff. I think it's cool. Every new sort of ability that I unlock every sort of new like special move, they get lots of little costumes and stuff like that. You can in fact get all the costumes from the 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy movie and sort of dress all 5 people on your team like they're in the movie. It's kind of fun. All of that stuff is fun, and I like those battles. I think it's annoying generally when they put up kind of invisible walls in video games and you have to fight your way out. I kind of don't mind when it happens in Guardians of the Galaxy. I have a good time with it. Yeah, I will say too, I'm playing it on easy, so that probably goes a long way to making it feel a little more breezy and a little less annoying.
I was gonna say I like that. There's enough there between sort of the focal action sequences for you to enjoy. Because I like when games. I forget what I played recently where I found myself like, I really like all these little, like, almost interstitial segments more than what you would think the core gameplay is. Oh, it might have. So, in even the ocean, actually, when you go back to the town between all the platforming stuff, you just get to chat with people and, like, go around town and talk to, like, maybe one day you go to the library or you go to the art gallery and you talk with the curator there, and they just give you a little backstory. And it was just, it's so different than, the Mega Man stuff. But it's like, it's not often that you just get to hang out in town in a game and like order breakfast somewhere. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I definitely sort of, I think of games like Dragon Quest games where those visits to towns are generally very utilitarian. I'm here to sleep, to re-up, to like save my game, et cetera, et cetera. And there's not, sometimes you get some fun character stuff, but it's very much you're in town with an objective. And I like being able to sort of like, in games that do it well, kind of marinate in that fun character-driven stuff in between sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's not something I expected out of this game, so that's cool.
Yeah. There are fun little choose your own adventure kind of elements to it. And I infer from what happens that it changes kind of the pathway through the game sometimes. There's at some point you come into a lot of money. And you're on this sort of this hollowed out skull of a space titan, and there's a casino, and there's all kinds of temptation, and there's drinks, and you're the one holding the credits, and you have to pay a fine or they're going to disable your ship. But man, you have a lot of money, and here's a planet full of temptation. So you sometimes you have to sort of like put yourself in the brain of like role playing. Like, is it more fun to spend my money wildly on all of the temptation that's present on this planet, or do I do the responsible thing, the thing that a captain should do and pay off my fine so they don't shut down my ship? And that wouldn't be much of a video game if they shut down your ship. So there's got to be a way out of that, right? So yeah, it's fun that there are these little like points in that interaction just on this planet where you can choose to be, a bad good guy
Mm-hmm.
or to do the responsible thing and pay off your fine. There's other elements of that too. There's one where you're sort of negotiating with the Nova Corps, and it's done from first person, which is kind of fun. And you're trying to sort of select prompts on a screen to get through their phone bank, essentially, to turn yourself in. But you can't seem to get anybody to take your call. And everybody else on the ship is telling you, try this, Peter, say this, Peter. So you're trying to sort of like take all of their like opinions to navigate your way through this, phone bank from hell, essentially. And it's, again, there's a lot of little places where I can feel the game sort of spinning off in certain directions based on decisions that I make that I think are super fun. Like, the game doesn't have to do those things. You know what I mean? You could churn out a Guardians of the Galaxy game that doesn't feature all of this stuff. It would probably be fine. But the fact that the developers kind of went there and just kind of threw everything at the wall on this game, constantly makes it feel sort of surprising and exciting. I get that maybe describing a phone bank is probably not the most exciting thing, but it's done really well. And it's just one of those things where you're like, wow, the game's really doing this, huh? That's a weird flex.
I wonder if this is enough to get me over my Marvel hump or whatever. My Marvel ban. Well, definitely sounds better than my impressions from that preview that they showed off, which was just...
I think I saw that preview, and I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
But yeah, I've been surprised at the reaction to this. Just a lot of people seem to be really into it. Especially after that Avengers game, which seemed to have the opposite effect on people. So that they're able to do something with... Actually, I don't even know. I don't think it's like Square Enix has the Marvel license or anything. I just think they just grab these selectively or something. Not sure.
Yeah. There
that would
are
have been quite
little...
Yeah.
Marvel things in it that tie back to, stuff I've heard about other kind of Marvel properties. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how much they had access to. I was really surprised at one point they have one of the characters has a Chewbacca action figure.
What?
And like does the Chewie voice that I won't attempt to do on the podcast in the game. And I'm like, oh, somebody paid for that. So
Did they actually say, like, they call him Chewbacca?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow. That's weird.
I think they call him Chewie, if I remember correctly.
Maybe that's not copyrighted.
There's no mistaking what it is or what the voice sort of is meant to sort of evoke. And I think they say Chewie, yeah. But it's, I mean, Disney owns the rights to all of this stuff. So somebody had access to something. I'm sure there was some intense negotiation that went on there. But so this is Guardians of the Galaxy. This is right now. It's on. I think it's on everything at this point. There's even sort of a streamable version on the Switch if you want to consume it that way. But it is on Game Pass, and again, if you have Game Pass, might as well check it out. Right, you got nothing to lose but time here, so I would recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, tune in next week when we find out that Randy's like 500 issues into what? Like the Skrull invasion or whatever happened to these comics.
I don't know that reference at all. So, yeah, it has given me like a little like, do I want to know more about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Is this
see,
like there's stuff
there you go.
out? Yeah, I'm in. I'm invested.
What if I read this whole wiki?
Yeah. I've had a serious moment of sort of like, I could be Star-Lord for Halloween.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm there. That's what's happening. That's what's going on right now.
All right. Yeah. Get that cool helmet or like half helmet or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yep. The jacket's easy. I could do the jacket. Need those boots though.
Yeah. I don't know though.
Find some
Guardians of the Galaxy is a little like, when did that movie come out?
First one was 2014.
2014? Oh my God, it was a long time ago.
Is there a 3? There's going to be a 3 at some point.
I'm sure, I'm sure they're making a third one. Okay, so you'll be ready when the third one comes out. You'll be online. You'll have your Star-Lord cosplay. It'll be great.
No. I didn't say cosplay. It's just a costume, DJ.
That's the same thing. What's the difference?
I'm not going to Comic-Con in it. I'm just going trick-or-treating.
What's the difference?
It's an important distinction.
I'm not going to Comic-Con, but I am going trick-or-treating as an adult man. Just to be clear.
Just to be clear. Yep. All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, I was waiting for you to object. I thought you were going to be like, no.
Oh, no. Let's wrap it up. No.
Yeah, you're with me. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on Discord, hang out with us, chat about video games and other fun pop culture stuff. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com. And we would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of your podcasting apps of choice. And hey, we're on YouTube now, so definitely check out YouTube if you want kind of a, visual and audio component of our show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Help us out by telling your friends about the show as well. That is probably the most important thing here.
Yeah, it really helps us get the word out. I think the best thing you can do is just recommend us to somebody. That's easy. We want to give thanks again to Protodome this week for our intro and outro music. Please go to protodome.bandcamp.com and listen to more of the stuff. Maybe buy an album. No Bandcamp Friday this Friday, but if you wait around for about a month, I'm sure there'll be another one.
I have found that if you go to isitbandcampfriday.com, it will tell you when the next one is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it tells you the next one. Okay. I was like,
I believe so, yeah.
Seems
if
like
they've announced the next one.
Not that useful of a website 6 out of 7 days a week, but at least they give you the heads up when it's coming up.
Yeah, let's see. Is it Bandcamp Friday? You visited this page 6 times. Let's see what it says. The next Bandcamp Friday is May 6th.
Okay, there you go.
It looks like, maybe once a month they're doing them now. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. We'll talk to you later.
Good night.
Goodbye. See ya.